Would you recommend for particularly lead angel investors that they should perhaps follow that model and be a little more actively involved? Because my observation, and jump out here if anyone thinks this is wrong, in New Zealand, probably due with our culture, we're a bit more standoffish. I'm not sure if we put our hands around the founder as much as you would, but would you sort of advocate that as the role of perhaps the lead angel investor to...
You are very standoffish. Other than Sue's, I've gotten only one hug since I've been here. It's a tricky role. Frankly, I think that it's really important that whoever is mentoring and leading this talent management in the organization has to be pretty steeped in experience in having done it themselves. Whenever somebody comes to me looking for money, and by the way, about a quarter of them I actually try to convince not to take my money, and I'll tell you why if anybody asks later. But so the ones I do tell to take money, I say the first thing you really want to look for in a partner is somebody who has actually had to make payroll themselves. Because if they haven't had to make payroll, they have no clue what you're going through. You know, they have no clue how you are operating from the seat of your pants with limited information, trying as best you can to make the critical decisions in time and correct the ones that are wrong. Because that's not the way a good general manager operates. It's not the way a good consultant operates. It's not the way a good banker operates. And so I find those sorts of people not very valuable in managing talent inside an organization. So I think I don't have a lot of domain expertise in many of the areas I invest in now. If you look at my portfolio, because I invest in people and problems, it is all over the map. I mean, I invest in silicon chips, and I invest in food. And I invest in agri-tech, and I invest in small businesses. And I go wherever people take me. You know, people say, how do you get your ideas? And it's very interesting because, you know, we have a bunch of associates. There's only 5 partners in the firm who invest the bulk of the venture money. And then we have a bunch of junior people who help us sort of navigate what's going on out there. And every partner asks them to do something different for them. But I ask them to do something that's probably the most unique, and that is, I don't ask them to introduce me to businesses. I don't ask them to introduce me to figure out thematic industry trends. I ask them to introduce me to interesting people. That's it. And every day I sit in my office, or if I'm lucky, I sit in my coffee shop, which I treat as my office, the Konditorei, and I have people stream through all day long and hallucinate. Right? They tell me about a future that I've never seen before, that is unlikely to ever happen, and that is exciting. And I get to choose which lunatic to invest in. And then my job is to make sure that lunatic doesn't go off the rails, right? Which sometimes I'm successful at, and most times I'm not. Right? That's the nature of the business. So I think it's important to realize that my ideas come from not because I'm sitting around with a bunch of data and in the dark of my room, sort of thinking about the future. If I could do that, I'd just start the damn business, right? It's because people are coming to me and I'm hearing these amazing tales and trying to figure out, could I help make that happen? Could I de-risk that in some way? Could I help them accomplish what they need to accomplish? And I think about this, and again, my approach is slightly eccentric. But it's sort of like in the U.S., they have something similar here. They have these 2 men in a mule races. So you run up, it's a 100-mile race, and the goal is both men and the mule have to get over the line at the same time. I run 2 men in a mule races. I need the business, the mule, to get across the line, but it's not successful unless I get those 2 people across with me. Now, a lot of times I can't, but that's a disappointment, not a victory, when that happens.